Namaskar. Welcome to Prakash on Basics. Let me backtrack a little bit. According to Shankaracharya, the core of Vedas is the Jiva Brahma Sambandha. So, from each Ved, he selected one key expression known as the mahavakya. I gave the general idea a couple of weeks back. Today, we'll try and interpret one of the most important of the Mahavakyas, Tatwamasi. It is from the Chandogya Upanishad, which of course is a part of the Samved. It's an Upadesh Vakya, an advice, repeated around 9 times during this dialogue between the father and the son. And it is reinforced through a number of examples. I'm going to add some others to make things a little more clear. This might appear to be contradicting itself because what it means is you are that, which obviously means that you and that are separate. Is it like that? And what it actually means is exactly the opposite. In fact, this is the core of Adwaita Vedanta, non dualism. It is a part of a dialogue between the father, a sage called Uddhalak Aruni, and his son Shvetaketu. It's not fair to say a dialogue because the majority of it is an advice by the father to the son. The son is just about listening to what he is saying. Let's look at the core of the story and then move ahead. Uddhalak Aruni had a son called Shvetaketu, and when the boy was around 12, as was a very common practice that time, uh, Uddhalak sent him to his guru to study. And that span used to be a standard pattern of about 12 years. So this boy of 12 left for 12 years and returned educated, as it is said. And he was obviously quite proud that he was well educated, very confident of what it is, having gained all that knowledge. He had knowledge but lacked understanding. It's more like a fresh graduate, lacked insight, lacked the grasp of the subjects, lacked the overview, lacked the necessary correlation. So then, as it was said, he had avidya, the knowledge to live, but lacked vidya, which is the knowledge required for brahmajnan, true knowledge and understanding in totality. So the father, who realized that he was a bit proud, decided to test him a bit and naturally expose him to the reality. So he asked a few questions. Do you know that, knowing which you would know everything? Have you heard that, hearing which you would have a feeling that you have heard everything? Have you understood that, the understanding of which means you have understood everything? The son was embarrassed. He didn't know the answers. But he said, my guru has not taught me all this. Because had he taught me all this, I would have known. But then he realized that something was missing. So he quietly asked his father, will you please teach me what you are talking of? So the father first revised one of the major concepts, which is the Brahma. He said the Brahmand, the universe, comes from Sat, the ultimate reality. And that ultimate reality is in everything. The total knowledge of this reality itself is Brahmadnyan. Its name and form may be different everywhere, but the core, the essence, the base of everything is the same, which is this Brahma. This core is indistinguishable from the rest. And to explain, um, he put forward a few examples. He said, if you look at honey that has already been collected, you cannot trace back to the original flower. And once a river merges into the ocean, it loses all its individuality. There's no trace left of that. Once the merger is complete, the individuality, the awareness of the Nam Roop. Nam is the name, and Roop is the form. All that is totally lost because it becomes a part of the whole ocean itself. But the existence must also be realized. So he says if you have a glass of water with some salt added to it, you can't see the salt, but you can realize its presence the instant you taste it. So the existence can be experienced just the same way. The Atma is the essence of every life form. It can't be seen directly, but some of us can feel it. We all originate from the same Brahma and will finally end up as a part of it. We lose all our Nama Roop. And knowing this itself is Brahmadnyan. That was not enough. So he said, there's a tree there. Why don't you go and get a fruit from it? It was a fig tree. So this boy went ahead and got a fig. He said, open it. So he opened it. What's inside? He said, seeds. He said, break open the seed. What do you see inside? He said, nothing. He said, but if you plant this fig, you're going to get all that tree that you see. So it is very obvious that the whole tree that you see in front of you is hidden inside this seed. It's not seen, but it is still there. And that's exactly so in case of Atma, that is within you, and Brahma, the whole universal energy that is outside. Tat Twamasi, that is you. Realize this. He then gave a couple of examples and added after every example the same advice. Tatwamasi, that is what you are. And to understand, let's go through these examples also. And they're very common. Um, he said, if you look at a pot, clay pot, or a vessel, or a tile made out of clay, or a clay lamp at Diwali that we use, all these are different only externally. The essence is the clay. What you see is the external form. How it is put to use is because of the external form. The reality is the clay. Mruttika itteva satyam. The clay is the only reality. Remove the clay and there is no pot, there is no tile, there is no lamp. Understand the clay and you will understand all of them. Tatwamasi, he said. And not all its properties may be used every time. Only one or two would be utilized, as we will come to in some more examples. If you look at a iron, for example, you look at an iron sword, a wire made of iron, a pot like a skittle, a magnet in today's terms, a needle, a hammer, and what we know of today, hemoglobin. All of them have iron. Scientifically, Fe, ferrous. Understand iron, and you would have understood every property associated with either the sword or the wire or the magnet or the needle or the hammer or hemoglobin also. Remove Fe and they're all meaningless. So the essence, the Adhar is Fe. Realize this, Tatwamasi. That is you. That is the Adhar for everything. We can talk of water and we can break it down at different levels. We could talk of ice, we could talk of steam, we could talk of the ice that we have in so many different crystalline forms. And all of them are nothing but H2O, hydrogen and oxygen joined together, forming. So the essence is the water molecule that is there. Tattvamasi again, that's what it means to. This means that many abilities that are within you may be dormant, unknown to you, but they are in the universal greatness, the universal consciousness that is outside you. Let's look at it from one or two other forms. Um, Suppose there is a thief who enters a house to steal something, and he opens the cupboard and locker and finds a lot of ornaments and other stuff around. He's not bothered whether it's a gold bangle or a necklace or an earring or whether it belongs to the daughter or the daughter-in-law or the mother-in-law. He's just interested in picking up whatever is of gold. Is it gold? Yes, I take it. If it's silver, discard it. I don't need it just now. So, what is the core? Is it the bangles, the necklace, the shape? No, not the name, nothing else. What matters is gold. Because finally, if you melt all of them, they will lose their namarup and boil down to only gold. Remove gold from all of these, and they are worthless. So finally, we must realize that the external forms are only words. The core, the essence, is what it is made up of. Just as the Atma within us, that forms the essence. We can look at it from a different present day context. Today, I could talk of a chromosome. Take a chromosome, look at it through an electron microscope, analyze what it is, and your heart is there, your head is there, your hands are there, your hair is there, your blood groups are there. Everything is there. It's the same thing like a fig and the tree that we talked of sometime. Tat is the Brahma. That is the Brahma. You had studied when you were a student. That's what the father told him. And the one which you already know from some previous knowledge that you have acquired from your teacher. And Tvam Asi, this experience that you are having now of understanding and realizing that it is also within you, that is the understanding that you need to have. Once you know this, that what you knew previously and what you are experiencing now is the same. All the information that you know about each other will start falling into place once this realization comes about. What you knew and what you now have witnessed are being correlated, and this correlation completes the understanding. The infinite, unending Chaitanya, the life form, the life force outside in everything else is the same as that is within you. And that is the advice that Uddalak Aruni gave his son Shvetaketu. It is our inability to understand this underlying unity that tricks us into believing that many things are different. Once you understand that the core is the same, everything falls in place. Don't fall for the exterior differences. Grasp the inner uniqueness. That is the crux. Tat and Tvam, that and you, must be understood in word and spirit, and in their true meaning, and in terms of the interrelation between the two of them. Once this interrelationship is understood, you have covered the most important part of understanding things. So if you look at Tat, it is the tree. Tvam is like the seed. Ishvara, that is the Saguna Roop of God. And the Jiva, the life, is like again Tat and Tvam. And if you look at the Nirguna form, the form without attributes, it is like the Brahma and the Atma. Just as I talked of iron and hemoglobin within you, look at iron around and it's so hard and so tough. But that atom of every Fe is also one of the atoms within you, within the hemoglobin that you have. Every bangle has a gold atom in it. So the gold is the tat part and the bangle is the namarup that is given to you. And that's true for everything. If today you talk in terms of science, it is matter, which is tvam, and the electrons and protons and the particles, fundamental particles that form it as the tat. So you will find that everything is related in this manner. For us to realize that the lightning that shines outside and the electricity that drives an individual inside is the same. And once you understand this, you realize that you are nothing different from what is outside. The appearances might appear to be different, but we need to understand the core and its uniqueness. There was a song which said, Mujhme Ram, Tujhme Ram, Sabme Ram Samaya, which means that the core essence in you or me is the same. Finally, you and me are all the same. Tat, then, is that far consciousness of totality, and Tvam is this near consciousness of every individual that is within us. Realizing the unity of the two is what is important. There is another pair of words that is used for it, and they are known as the Pind, that is you, and the Brahmanda, the whole space and the world outside. There was another approach mentioned sometime. I'll come to that later, much later. But let me just remind you that if you look at the 18 chapters of Gita, you would realize that the first 6 chapters deal with the problems associated with Tvam, that is you or me, and the 7th to the 12th talk of that is the Brahma, Tat. And chapters 13 to 18 talk of the interrelation that we must understand between the two of them to realize the essence of life. We are going to talk of later on about darshans, that is the philosophies that are mentioned in the various Upanishads. These different darshans interpret the same 3 words slightly differently. The Adwaita Vedanta, that is the one proposed predominantly by Shankaracharya, says Brahma and Atma are the same. That is the Advaita, that is non dualism. Madhvacharya, who proposed dualism, that is Dvaitavad, talks of a slight difference between that which is great and its minor part, that is you. And similarly, the other darshans also. We will come to that in detail sometime later. But what is all the practical application of all this? Does it make any sense and use today? Of course. This is a major step in self motivation. We invariably feel ourselves to be limited in terms of our abilities, in terms of our potentials. We are not aware of all our capabilities. But when you look at the greatness outside and realize that inside you are the same, once you associate yourself with the bigger picture, these potentials within you can be tapped more easily. The advice brings an awareness. Let me remind you of that great example in Ramayana. They were at the edge of the sea and they didn't know what to do. And then Jambuwant called on Hanuman and reminded him of the great potentials that he had. And for him to realize all his potentials, that greatness is nothing but you. So you are the one who can cross over this small part of the sea and go to Lanka. See? So the effect of becoming aware of your own potentials is nothing but self realization, a word that is talked of as Atma Sakshatkar, realizing oneself. Today, some of us are getting old and we feel that we cannot grasp the new technologies. Why? We can definitely do it. Many of us have a feeling that we cannot understand this great philosophical aspects of Hinduism, which are typically referred to as Adhyatma. Definitely not. We're all capable of it when we realize that that greatness outside and the one within me is the same, and I have the potentials to achieve all this. This self realization and how it comes about is a part of another mahavakya, and how that is to be taught, how this advice is to be put to use is the next step. And that we will take care of some coming Saturday. If you have liked whatever I have said, make your friends realize their own potentials. Let them listen to this if you have liked it. Let them also realize their own potentials. And then like and subscribe to this channel if possible. And do give me your comments because that will be one of the ways for us to keep in touch. Till we meet again next Saturday with some other aspect of the Upanishads. Namaskar.